In this section, we'll cover the creation of object nodes from an existing Marionette network. We'll use the same network we created in the previous section to start. Before now, we've created geometry from Marionette networks by simply right-clicking and running the script, which creates a group with the resulting geometry. Running that script again will replace that group with any changes you may have made to the values within that network, but there's another way. If you right-click on any node within the network, you'll see Wrap Marionette Network. We did this already for the Phi node, but now we'll take it a step further. Once wrapped into a single node, right-click on that single node and choose Convert to Object Node. You will now see just the rectangles alone. However, notice that when selected, they are now a single Marionette object in the Object Info palette. But we have no control over the variables inside this node. Recall how we added the output connection to the Phi node from earlier? That can be done in more detail. Right-click on the Marionette object and choose Edit Marionette Script. You'll be brought into an editing mode, similar to Edit Group or Edit Symbol, where you can see your entire network. Now, to expose the input variables on the Object Info palette, all we need to do is name them. But the names we give them will be the names of the fields listed in the Object Info palette. Name the Start Real Input node Range Start, and name the End Real Input node Range Stop. Simple enough. Name the int node that controls the count Number of Rectangles, since in the end, that's what this value determines in this script. Note that the name becomes the main label of the node to make it easy on the eyes, but that the node type is still listed below in a smaller font. Now, exit the Marionette script by clicking the Exit button on the top right of the drawing area. Select the Marionette object, and you'll see that we have 3 new parameters in the Object Info palette. Now, go ahead and alter one of those values. If we change the number of rectangles to 10, we then get 10 rectangles. No surprise there. Range Start effectively lets us change the width of the smallest rectangle, and Range End the width of the largest rectangle, with number of rectangles dividing up the values in between evenly. Congratulations, you just made a new tool from scratch. Before we go further, I want to cover a few more useful pieces of information. First, what if we wanted the number of rectangles to be the first input field in the Object Info palette? By default, we added its name third, so it's listed as the third item, but this can be overridden. Edit the script of this object, then edit the name of the Number of Rectangles node, and call it One Number of Rectangles. Exit the editing mode, and check the Object Info palette again. You'll see that Number of Rectangles is listed first, but the number is not included in the name. This is by design. Adding a whole real number to the front of an input node's name will become the sorting order for that particular node. This isn't such a big deal with this object, but for objects that have many variables, you'll want to sort them by importance or group them according to function without having to worry about which order you name the nodes in the first place. Now second, what if we wanted to control the rectangle's width and height separately, and not be locked into the golden ratio as we are now with only control over the height? Double-click on the Marionette object, and you'll be taken straight to the Edit Script mode, a useful feature. Select the Phi and Mul nodes and delete them with the Delete or Backspace keys, same as any other object. Then, select the Range nodes and its 2 Start and Stop input nodes. Then, copy and paste them slightly below the originals. Now, connect the second range to the height input on the rectangle node, and connect the Number of Rectangles input node to the Count input node on the second range node as well, since we'll always need to have the same number of values for width and height. This would work on its own right now, but we'll have duplicate names for the 2 range fields. That might be confusing. Alter the names of the 4 input modes so that the 2 that control the width start and stop are named First Rectangle Width and Last Rectangle Width, respectively. Then do the same for the 2 that now control the height, but instead naming them First Rectangle Height and Last Rectangle Height. Remove the 1 from the start of the name of Number of Rectangles for now as well. This will result in 5 fields, which you can see if you exit the script. Now we can individually control the length and width of the first and last rectangles, as well as how many rectangles we're creating. However, notice that while we've entered a number of rectangles as 5, we actually get 6 rectangles. Why is that? Well, this is simple script logic, because the counting starts at 0, not 1. So while this is technically correct, we can make it a little more human-friendly before we go. We can't change the rules of the range node directly, but we can compensate for them with a little simple math. Edit the script again, then disconnect the number of rectangles node from both of the count inputs on both range nodes. In the Marionette tool, open the Math section and select a sub or subtract node. Place the subtract node between the number of rectangles input node and the range nodes, moving the other nodes around to give it space if you need to. Then, with the Marionette tool again, add another integer input node, like so. The subnode performs a simple subtraction, subtracting the B input from the A input. Connect the number of rectangles node to the A connection of sub, and the new int node to the B connection. Then connect the sub output, C, to both of the count inputs on both range nodes. Then assign a value of 1 to the new int node. What we've done here is reduce whatever the value is entered into the number of rectangles field by 1. This doesn't hurt anything, and makes the object adhere to a more natural expectation of what a field that controls a number of objects should do. Finally, a note on units. We've been entering whole real numbers for the width and height control of these rectangles. They're being taken in document units, which in the case of this demo file are centimeters. If we were to go to File, Document Settings, and Units, and change this to meters, the generated rectangles would instead be meters across and tall instead of centimeters. In the next section, we'll cover some more complex concepts such as manipulating and moving the geometry that we've created.